Hello, everybody, and welcome. If you are joining me this evening, I'm super excited to have you here. There is a bit of a delay on my end, so I will be checking back and forth frequently to the computer to see if people are leaving comments. If you're hanging out with me tonight, I want to be able to have a conversation or a dialogue with you, seeing the feedback of what you're putting in the comments. So the reason that I wanted to go live tonight in the group is because I've been working on this project pretty much like since March, and it was because of the Wool and Fiber Arts group that I was inspired to create workshops specifically around this project. So one of the workshops that I've created, it was called Ask Alana About, and it was basically the way that a person could follow my process as an artist, as a fiber artist. And so I was working on this Wizard of Oz themed shawl. And so each part of the shawl has a different like character or a scene from the movie. Okay, so I know some of you may have been following along with me from the beginning, but for those of you that don't know who I am or what I'm about to do tonight, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background. So I'm going to go and switch over to my overhead so you can see what exactly I'm talking about. So hello everybody that joined me. So over here, what we're looking at is basically my samples and swatches of different yarns that I experimented with throughout the process of creating this project. Okay, this Wizard of Oz, like I said, themed shawl. So I have the yarns that I created over here were the scarecrow themed yarns, and then I had the flying monkey yarns, and I had the tornado yarn. So it was a really fun process for me to be able to go through and kind of break down, the way that I was approaching and thinking about working with these yarns. Now, what makes it, that much more exciting again is I've been working on this, right, for the better part of the year. And so then there were parts of the project that I needed to not just use commercial yarn to knit, but also to use hand spun. And so the question comes up a lot of times that spinners might have is like, how do I know how much fiber I need for a specific project, right? So like if you want to make socks, how much fiber do you need? So sometimes, if you ask a more seasoned spinner, they'll say, oh, about 4 ounces. Well, that's kind of the like general amount, like the average or the estimate. But when you're actually like spinning for a specific pair of socks, if they're shorter, if they're longer, it might be a different amount. So when I was like thinking about like what other kinds of workshops would work in this online virtual format, I then created this workshop called Calculating Fiber and Yarn for a Project. And so there was a lot of people from the Wool and Fiber Arts group that joined me. So thank you for your support in that. And I just thought it would be fun to come on tonight and share with you how I actually applied what I taught in that workshop. And there was like a calculator, so you can plug in, the information you get out of doing a swatch and a pattern and kind of figure out and see how much fiber you're going to actually need. So I took what was taught in that workshop and I put it to use. And so I thought it would be fun to come on because not only has this group been so supportive of, my workshops and just like myself as a fiber artist, but just also the camaraderie and the friendship and the encouragement that I've gotten from everybody in this group to work on this project. So I thought it would be fun if you play yarn chicken with me tonight and see, was I able to calculate the right amount of fiber. So I'm going to switch over here, so you're going to get to see. Now, as I was working on the shawl, okay, so over here I have the shawl, and this is how much yarn that I have left of the Emerald City section. Okay, so like I said, I've been working on it, but this little ball is what I have left. And so I did the majority of the row because you can see this thing is like a behemoth. It is just a super large shawl. Okay, so it's like it goes on and on and on. But I have a little bit left. Okay, so I have this much left to complete that I need the green yarn. Okay, so while I am working on it, I will either answer questions if you have any or just talk a little bit about the process in creating this yarn. So the pattern that I'm using for the shawl, it's a Stephen West pattern, and it's called Fantastitch. So if any of you, are Stephen West fans, I really love working his patterns because as a spinner and just like as a, I don't know, a creative person, I really enjoy the challenge of using different colors and textures. It just, I feel like it's a really fun endeavor. So let me know if you guys are fans of his shawls, or maybe if you've created one like this. Okay. And so the shawls are very, very large, and I chose to do the large size one. Now, in choosing that, I thought it probably would be best to not have it be all commercial yarn and or all hand spun, like to do a little bit of mix and match. Because if I were to make it all hand spun yarn, there would be a really good chance that I would run out of yarn or just fiber, and I'd have to like spin and spin and spin. And I really just wanted to jump right into the knitting. But I knew that there were some yarns that I just couldn't buy, like the one that I'm working with now. So, the ones that I felt that being a spinner was really going to enhance what I had envisioned for the project, that those are the ones that I spun. So I didn't necessarily spin all the yarns, but I've done different things to them. So either I've dyed the yarns or I made the yarns by spinning them, or I've even combined commercial yarns together. So I've taken thinner singles and I held them together. So let me just go over here. So hello everybody that's joining me. So yeah, so this part, this green yarn that I'm working with is 100% Angelina fiber. So it's a synthetic fiber, and it basically feels like shredded tinsel from a Christmas tree, right? And it's very, I'm trying to think, it's not even that it feels plasticky as much as it feels ropey. Okay, so like I would describe, acrylic yarn as maybe feeling more plasticky, but this just feels more ropey. So like if you were to close your eyes and spin, like hemp or flax, but that was like short and carded, it's kind of like a little bit bristly and I don't know, not a very nice hand, I would say, but I love the glitter factor and the twinkle factor. And so again, this is going to be for the Emerald City part. So I can go through once I'm done, and it looks like, okay, so I have this many more stitches over here and I have this much more yarn, so it looks like I'm going to make it. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So that's a good thing, right? That means that my tips and tricks and the techniques that I showed in the calculating fiber and yarn workshop actually work. But what's tricky is that I used a swatch of wool to figure out how much I was going to need of this Angelina. Now, wool and Angelina are definitely different in weight. So, there's this expression, what would you rather get hit with, a pound of bricks or a pound of feathers? And so if I'm going to spin the same diameter yarn, right? Like if I'm going to spin wool and Angelina, they could be the same diameter, but even though it's the same wraps per inch or the same, circumference of yarn, the Angelina is just a lot heavier and a lot denser. So I had to take that into consideration. And by the looks of it, here we go. Last stitch. I want a yarn chicken. So yeah, so because it was going to be denser, I figured based on what I spun with wool, I multiplied that times 2 and I was able to get enough. So I'm super pleased that I had enough and I didn't have to cut the pattern short. So thank you for all the cheerleaders that came out to see if I was going to win or not. I'm super excited. And so let me open this up a bit. Now I realize that the lighting at night isn't as lovely as it is during the day, but nonetheless, it's kind of a fun thing to go through and show you and talk about. So over here, this is the Toto section. So it's got some different types of yarns that I held together to kind of give it this like fuzzy Karen Terrier texture. And then I have the rainbow section. So this one over here. Oh, thank you, Rita. So this one over here is the Somewhere Over the Rainbow section. So these are all yarns that I dyed. Now this one is what I'm going to be working on next. So once I bind off, okay, you can see that I have this like little triangle shape. I hope it shows up on the camera. So I'm going to just see if I can hold it flat so you can see. So there's like this kind of cone triangle shape, and this is what I'm going to do next. Okay, so let me see if I can find where I tucked it away. Here it is. So I played around with some Shrinky Dinks. Now I don't know if I'm going to use this one. I'm going to play around with some resin and see if I can kind of get a better seal on it, because I don't want it to wear off. But there I have like the flying wicked witch. And so I'm going to have like little types of charms that are basically going to be flying around, right, in the tornado section. So that's what I'm going to work on next in getting those secured. And then over here in this little section, I have the Wicked Witch of the East and then the ruby red slippers. And as far as binding off, I'm probably going to use black or brown, something neutral. So this Angelina over here, this red slipper Angelina that I spun, this is how much I had left of that. Okay, so again, why it's, I think, really important to be able to figure out in advance of your knitting how much yarn or fiber you're going to need, is because if there's something that is a technique that necessarily, like, you don't necessarily enjoy, like spinning Angelina, or if the fiber is really expensive, it just kind of gives you a really good idea and a sense of how much you're going to need before you start, jumping into your project. So this is how much I have left from the Ruby Slippers section. So then I have the Yellow Brick Road, and so those were two different gold colored yarns that I had dyed. And this one was one of my more fun, enjoyable sections. So this over here is the Scarecrow section. And then I spun, if you can see, some flax. And then I have like little kind of pieces sticking out so that it makes it look more, like straw. And then this over here is the Tin Man section. So in addition to dyeing the yarn, I don't know if it's coming up or not, but there's like these little copper beads, and so I put those in to basically make it look like the rust sections in the Tin Man's hat. And so then after that, let's see here. Oop, my screen got okay. So then I have the Lion section, and what I want you to know is that like everything in this project, for the most part, I was stash diving for. Like I did go and buy the green ribbon, but I had lots of yarns and things like that I just kind of pulled from my stash. And I want you to see here, because I think it's important, right? Like when I was dyeing this yarn, I made a mistake, okay? And I didn't like how the dark brown kind of like spilled into the light brown sections. And I totally forgot about it when I started knitting it. And so now, like looking at this part that's done, it's got these like brown spots. And so like that's okay. I mean, yes, it would have been wonderful if everything was perfect, but that's part of the beauty of having things that are handmade. Sometimes things are going to be a bit off, and I think it adds the like character to it, right? So I want you to know, even at like someone who is at my skill level, I still make mistakes, and I embrace them in my work, and I don't allow them to stop me from enjoying the creation process. And I think that's really important, that whenever you're knitting or spinning or weaving, that sometimes you might stumble in the project, no matter how experienced you are, and sometimes we just like let those things stop us. And I'm kind of at the point now where it's like, if there's a mistake, that's just as long as it's not like super glaring, like that on the lion, I'm okay with having it be a bit on the spotted side. So for this, it's all different stitches. Like this one over here was more of a slip stitch. So this is the poppy field section. So there's knitting stitches, purl stitches, slip stitches. And so this one is probably one of my more favorite color-wise ones to do. It's got the poppy fields, is made like the flowers. Those are from Spin Cycle yarns. And then all of those blues and turquoises and teals, those are all ones that I dyed. And I dyed them in advance of making this. It was just something that I had left over from experiments and projects. Now, this section over here is another one that I'm going to keep working on. So this kind of like pale purple and like kind of like a rusty coral red color, this is the flying monkey section. And so I'm super excited. I'm going to be making more of these, or like some kind of variations of it. I don't know. I have to still think how I want these to look. But over here I have this, like, it's like feathers and fabric and thread, and I basically made these little flying monkey beads. And so I don't know if it's coming up. Okay, I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera. Like I said, there's a bit of a delay, so I can't see if stuff is in focus, but I'm going to be making more of these flying monkey beads. And I'm not sure if I'm going to attach them where there are yarn overs, or if I'm going to have them like all throughout the shawl. So I'll probably put it on a dress form first, and maybe use like a safety pin or something just to kind of test it out first for placement and see how I like it. But I'm definitely going to wash and block the shawl first before attaching anything to that. So then the next section is the Wicked Witch section. And so when I was doing it, I know that she's more of like, I would say like an emerald color green, but because I was going to use the green for the Emerald City, I wanted this to be more of like a lime kind of yellowish green. So it's reading a lot flatter on the camera. But for the most part, it's kind of this like really yellowy chartreuse kind of color. So someone said, what size needles am I using? Give me a second. I think these were size 4. No, wait. Okay, no. It's a size 5 needle. And it's pretty much the weight, like I would say, not quite sock weight. What is that? Fingering weight? I don't really go by, I'm sorry. I don't really go by conventional yarn measuring terms. I'll tell you right now here. So I'll go by the wraps per inch, because as a spinner, that's what I'm more familiar with. So yeah, I would say that this yarn is about 16 wraps per inch. So is that fingering? I'm not sure. I don't really buy commercial yarn and like know those terms. That's like the one thing. I guess it's kind of like reading music, and music notes. It's just one of those things where it goes in one ear and then out the other, and I forget what the ranges are. So forgive me on that. But then after the Wicked Witch section, this one was also a super fun section to do, because I don't like pink, right? But I know Glenda's kind of this like pink bubble gum kind of color. So I thought it would be better to have it be more purple. And I don't know if you can really tell, again, the camera is making the colors appear very flat, and in person, it just has a lot more character. It's a lot more vibrant. But I did a pink mohair. So let me see if I can show you. So I combined this pink mohair that I dyed, and then I made a purple, but it had like some kind of like pink undertones into it. And so the combination of the two gives it a pink cast, but it's still very much purple, you know, but it definitely does have a pink cast to it. And then this over here is the final section. So I have my Emerald City that I just finished. So I have to just do the bind off row. Then I have to do the, hang on, let me switch the camera over so we can be more face to face. All right. So yeah, so I have, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to do the flying monkey beads. I'm going to do the little, like charms in the tornado section, so that like when I'm walking or someone that's wearing it is walking, the charms will kind of move around and give the illusion or the effect that it's in a tornado with the wind blowing. And I'm so excited about that. Let me see if I can show you. So these ones haven't been shrunk yet because, like I said, I did want to play around with using resin, but I have a little cow. So he's going to be flying around, or she's going to be flying around rather, in the tornado. I have the farmhouse. I have the Wicked Witch. And I have a couple of other ones too. I have like the fence and other things like that that are going to be flying around. So I'm really excited to get to the like little detail part. And then I was thinking maybe for the finishing bit, I might do like the Wizard of Oz's hot air balloon, maybe as like a shawl pin or something like that. So we'll see. I haven't figured out that part yet. But again, I just wanted to come on tonight and share with you to see if I was going to win at Yarn Chicken. So I'm happy to report that yes, indeed, I did win. But if you look at even the size of the ball of the yarn that I have left, it's not much, right? So if I needed a little bit more for mending, or, you know, for like documentation or sampling purposes, like I have enough that I can see, you know, what did the yarn look like before it was knitted, and I can get some information about the yarn if I wanted to just have a little bit left over. But I didn't have to spend pounds and pounds and pounds of Angelina fiber. I just had to know my pattern, and then I was able to figure it out. And again, I have these like yarn calculators that are part of the workshop. So it's nice. You can just kind of go plug in the numbers from whatever pattern you want. And based off of your swatching, you can figure out really quickly how much fiber you would need and if in fact you're going to run out or you're going to make it. So thank you everybody for again being my cheerleaders in this process. My goal is, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it or not, but to be done with this project in 2020 and start something new and exciting for next year. But because I do have, I wouldn't want to say like a lot of projects in progress, but I would say I have, you know, maybe like 10 to 15, you know, knitting, weaving, and even like drawings and paintings and things like that haven't been completed. So my goal for next year, and I don't know if any of you are coming up with fiber resolutions or, you know, doing more stash diving or, you know, incorporating different fibers. Maybe you're a new spinner and you want to kind of branch out and do like a breed study and kind of see what are all the different fiber possibilities that you can make yarn with, right? So each one of us might have different, you know, goals and things like that for the new year. But I'm going to try to do a 2 work in progress projects have to be completed before I start a new project. So that's why I am very hell-bent on getting this Wizard of Oz shawl done, because obviously, you know, I want to see it finished and off the needles, but I would like to move on to hopefully not bigger projects as far as like the length of time that it takes to knit, but definitely I want to do different things. Like I think one of my next projects is going to be to create some fingerless gloves with like a flap and make it like a thrummed mitten flap top. So those are my favorite kinds to make, and so that's going to be my next project. So, yep. So thank you so much again, everybody, for hanging out with me. If you're watching this video after the live, is over, feel free to tag me if you have any questions about, the shawl or anything like that. But if I don't hear from you or speak to you, I wish all of you a very happy and healthy new year. And I look forward to coming back on and sharing with you the projects that I'm working on and also the workshops that I am planning. So be well and much love to you all. Take care, everybody. Good night.